The day my future collapsed, I adjusted my jacket and looked around the restaurant where I planned to announce my engagement. I believed that night would become my happiest memory. Elena held my hand and smiled at me, and I thought I had finally built the perfect life. "Are you nervous?" Elena asked. "A little," I admitted. I spent years dreaming about this moment. She looked away for a second. I noticed the silence, but I ignored the warning inside my heart. My friend Marcus walked toward our table. I smiled because I had known him since childhood. I trusted him like family. "Tonight is special," Marcus said. "Of course it is," I replied. "You both mean a lot to me." Those words felt painful later. I stood beside Elena and raised my glass. "I want everyone to know that Elena is the person who supported me when I had nothing," I said. "She believed in my business idea before anyone else did." The room became quiet. Elena removed her hand from mine. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. My stomach tightened. "What happened?" I asked. Marcus looked at the floor. I felt my confidence disappear. Elena took a breath. "I cannot marry you." The glass almost slipped from my hand. "What are you saying?" "I am choosing a different future," she answered. I stared at her, waiting for a joke. "This is not funny, Elena." "It is not a joke." I turned toward Marcus. "Why are you standing here like this?" Marcus finally looked at me. "I am sorry." Those two words hurt more than an insult. "Sorry for what?" The silence answered before anyone did. My chest felt empty. "Are you two together?" Elena closed her eyes. "Yes." I could barely breathe. "You and Marcus?" "I did not plan for this to happen," Elena said. "But it happened. I found someone who could give me the life I wanted." I laughed because I could not believe my ears. I thought we were building that life together. Marcus stepped closer. "You need to accept reality." I looked at him with disbelief. "You are telling me to accept this? After everything?" "You were never ready to take your business to the next level," Marcus said. "I can." I felt anger rising. "My ideas?" Elena looked uncomfortable. "What about my ideas?" Marcus said nothing. That silence confirmed my fear. "You used my plans." "We improved them," Marcus replied. "No, you took them." I looked at Elena. "Did you know?" She answered quietly. "Yes." That moment destroyed the last piece of trust one had. I remembered every late night, every sacrifice, and every promise. "I defended you," I said. "I chose you when everyone told me I was giving too much." "I know." "Then why?" "I thought I deserved more." Her words stayed in my mind. I walked away from the table without saying goodbye. Outside, I called Daniel my mentor because I needed one person who understood me. "Daniel," I said. "What happened?" My voice broke. Everything I believed was a lie. He stayed silent. "Tell me what happened." I explained everything. After a long pause, Daniel said, "Pain reveals people." "I lost everything." "No," he replied. "You lost people who were never truly yours." I sat alone that night, staring at my empty apartment. I had lost my fiancée, my friend, and my business opportunity. I wanted revenge. I wanted them to feel my pain. But beneath the anger, another feeling appeared. A small voice inside me said I was not finished. I looked at my old business notes and whispered to myself. They took my dream, but they did not take my ability to create another one. My hands were shaking, but I wrote one sentence. "I will rebuild." I did not know how long it would take. I did not know how much pain waited ahead. But for the first time that night, I stopped begging people to choose me. I decided I would choose myself. I opened my notebook again and wrote down every mistake I made. I had trusted too easily, depended too much, and forgotten my own value. I whispered, "This is not the end of my story." The next morning, I woke up with the same pain, but I also felt something different. I felt a reason to fight. I packed my belongings, left the apartment I once shared with Elena, and carried only what belonged to me. Before leaving, I looked around and said, "I will return as someone you cannot recognize." I walked into the unknown with nothing except my determination, my memories, and my promise. I knew my journey would be difficult, but I accepted the struggle. Broken man I was yesterday would become strongest version of myself tomorrow. The man who had nothing left, 3 days after leaving my old apartment, I realized how empty my life had become. My phone stopped ringing, my messages received no replies, and the people I once trusted disappeared. I sat in a small rented room, staring at my bank account. "This cannot be my life," I whispered. The man looking back at me in the mirror seemed like a stranger. I had spent years building a future with Elena. Now I had nothing except painful memories. My phone suddenly rang. I answered without hope. "Hello. Are you still hiding?" I recognized Daniel's voice. "I am not hiding," I replied. "You are. There is a difference between being alone and refusing to move forward." I looked away. "Daniel, they took everything from me." "No, they took what you gave them." His words angered me. "You do not understand. I understand more than you think." I stayed silent. Daniel continued. "When I first met you, you had talent, but you believed people were more important than yourself. Is that wrong? Caring is not wrong. Losing yourself for someone else is." Those words followed me for days. I tried finding work, but every door closed. Marcus had already damaged my reputation. People believed his version of the story. One afternoon, I entered a small coffee shop and saw someone familiar. "Are you Ethan?" I turned around. A woman smiled at me. "Sarah?" She laughed. "I knew it was you." Sarah was someone I knew from college. We had not spoken in years. "You look surprised," she said. "I am. I did not expect to see anyone from my old life." She studied my face. "You look like someone who has not slept in weeks." "I am fine." She shook her head. "No, you are pretending." I looked down. "Everyone knows what happened." "I know." "Then you know I failed." Sarah frowned. "Failed?" "Yes. I lost my fiancé, my friend, and my career." "You lost people who betrayed you. That is different." I smiled sadly. "Everyone keeps saying that. Maybe because everyone sees something you cannot." "What?" "That you are still standing." Her words surprised me. Over the next few weeks, Sarah became one of the few people who checked on me. "You need a plan," she told me one evening. "I have one." "What is it?" "Survive." She sighed. "That is not a plan. It is all I have right now." Daniel also kept pushing me. "Stop thinking about Marcus," he told me. "He ruined my life." "He changed your life. What you do with that change is your choice." I want him to regret everything. Revenge can motivate you, but it cannot guide you. I hated hearing that because part of me wanted revenge more than success. I wanted Marcus to see me win. I wanted Elena to realize her mistake. But I slowly understood something. If I built my future only to hurt them, they would still control me. One night, I opened my old business files. I studied every idea Marcus tried to steal. "This was mine," I said. Then I corrected myself. "This is still mine." I started working again. Small projects, small investments, small victories. Most people ignored me. Some laughed. "You think you can compete again?" one former coworker asked. "Yes," I answered. "With what?" "My own determination." He laughed. "You lost everything." I smiled. "No, I lost comfort. That made me stronger." Months passed. I struggled with money and doubt, but I kept moving. I learned new skills. I studied business. I stopped waiting for someone to save me. One evening, Daniel visited my small office. He looked around. "This is where you work?" "Yes." "It is tiny." "I know." He smiled. "But you build it yourself." I nodded. For the first time in months, I felt proud. Daniel placed a folder on my desk. "What is this?" "An opportunity." I opened it. Inside were documents about a business project. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because I believe you are finally ready." I looked at the papers. "What if I fail?" Daniel smiled. "Then fail while building something that belongs to you." I closed the folder. That night, I made my decision. I would stop chasing the life I lost. I would create a new one. I wrote 3 words on my wall. Start again. For the first time since Elena betrayed me, I believed those words. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. I looked at my unfinished plans and felt fear, but I refused to run from it. I said, "This is my second chance." I knew rebuilding would hurt. I knew there would be days when I wanted to quit, but I also knew staying broken would give Marcus and Elena the victory they wanted. I packed my bag, walked into my small office, and started working. Every failure became a lesson. Every rejection became fuel. Every lonely night became proof that I could survive. I was no longer the man waiting for love to complete him. I was becoming the man who could stand alone. My past was painful, but it was also the reason I started fighting. And this time, I would build something nobody could steal. I closed my notebook and whispered, "My journey begins now." I had lost my old life, but I had finally found myself again. The road ahead was hard. I woke up every morning before sunrise and entered my small office with one goal: prove that my life was not over. The room was simple, but it belonged to me. "This is where everything starts," I whispered. My first project was difficult. I had limited money, no powerful connections, and a damaged reputation. Every investor I contacted remembered Marcus's version of the story. "We are not interested," one investor told me. "Can I ask why?" "Your previous partner already presented a similar idea." I clenched my fists. That idea was mine. The investor looked uncomfortable. "Maybe, but business is about results." Those words hurt, but they also motivated me. I spent nights improving my plans. I studied mistakes. I changed my strategies. I stopped blaming the world and started improving myself. Sarah visited my office one afternoon. "You look exhausted," she said. "I am." "Then why are you still working?" "Because nobody is coming to save me." She sat across from me. "That sounds lonely." "It is." "Do you regret trusting Elena?" I became quiet. Sometimes. I regret ignoring the signs. I regret making someone else the center of my life. Sarah nodded. "That is a painful lesson." "Yes, but I needed it." A few weeks later, I met Victor for the first time. I entered his office carrying my proposal. I watched Victor look through the papers and then look at me. "You are young." "I know." "You have ambition." "I do. But ambition is not enough." "I agree." I noticed his raised eyebrow. "You agree?" "Yes." I learned that dreams without discipline are just wishes. Victor leaned back. Interesting answer. I waited. I watched Victor continue reading my proposal. "You know this market is dangerous?" "Yes." "You know most people fail?" "Yes." "Then why should I work with you?" I looked directly at Victor. "Because I already lost everything once. I am not afraid of losing comfort anymore." Victor smiled slightly. "That answer is better than your numbers." "I can improve my numbers." "Can you improve your character?" I answered immediately. "I already started." Victor did not accept my offer that day. Instead, I received a challenge. "Come back after 1 month. Show me progress." I walked out of Victor's office with another rejection, but this time I felt different. I had a challenge. I had a direction. I had purpose. During that month, I worked harder than ever. I rebuilt my proposal and contacted new partners. Many rejected me, but I stopped taking rejection personally. One night, I looked at my old engagement ring sitting inside a drawer. For a moment, memories returned. Elena's smile, her promises, the future I imagined. Then I closed the drawer. "I miss who I thought you were," I whispered. "Not who you became." The next morning, I returned to Victor. I watched Victor review my updated plan. "You changed everything." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I realized my first plan was built around proving myself to others. This one is built around creating value." Victor placed the papers down. "Now you are thinking like a businessman." I felt a small victory. "Does that mean you are interested?" "It means I will give you a chance." I shook Victor's hand. That handshake was the first real step toward my future. My company was still small. My problems were still large. But for the first time, I believed I could win. Sarah noticed the change. "You seem different." "I am." "What changed?" "I stopped fighting to make Elena regret leaving me." She smiled. "Then what are you fighting for?" I looked at my growing plans. "For myself." Those words felt powerful. I finally understood that my empire would not be built from anger alone. It would be built from patience, discipline, and belief. Every failure shaped me. Every betrayal taught me. Every lonely night strengthened me. I was still hurt, but I was no longer broken. I walked into my office, looked at the empty walls, and imagined what they would become. One day, This small room would become the beginning of something massive. I wrote one sentence on my board. Build quietly. Let success speak. Then I returned to work. My empire had not arrived yet, but the foundation was finally complete. The next months would test everything I had learned. I knew success would not come quickly, and I accepted that reality. I stopped searching for shortcuts because shortcuts had already cost me enough. When fear appeared, I reminded myself of the night I lost everything. I survived that night. I could survive anything. My old life ended with betrayal, but my new life started with determination. I picked up my pen, opened my plans, and continued building. This time, nobody else would control my future. This time, every victory would belong to me. I knew the road ahead would be painful, but I welcomed every challenge because each struggle was turning me into someone stronger than before. I no longer needed anyone to believe in me. I believed in myself, and that was enough. I was finally ready for victory when the weak man disappeared. 6 months after I started my company, my small office no longer felt empty. It was still simple, but the walls were covered with plans, schedules, and goals. I looked around and smiled. This is only the beginning. My phone rang. Ethan, we have a problem, Ryan said. Ryan was the first employee who believed in my vision. He was young, talented, and willing to take a risk on a company nobody knew. What happened? The competitor released a product similar to ours. I stood up. Who? There was a pause. Marcus. My hands tightened around the phone. I expected challenges. I expected competition. But seeing his name still created anger inside me. Send me everything, I said. Are you okay? I took a deep breath. Yes, I am. But I was not. A part of me wanted to destroy him. A part of me wanted him to feel the same pain I felt. That night, I stayed in the office alone. I stared at Marcus's company information. He is still trying to take from me. My phone rang again. It was Daniel. You are angry. I did not answer. That means you are still letting him control you. I am not. Then why are you staring at his name instead of your own goals? His words annoyed me because they were true. He ruined my life. No, Ethan. He ruined the life you had planned, that gave you the chance to build something better. I looked at the screen. I want him to lose. That is normal. Then why do you tell me not to fight? Because there is a difference between fighting for success and fighting because you are hurt. I stayed silent. Daniel continued. Do not become the person who broke you. Those words stopped me. The next morning I called my team. We are not attacking Marcus. Ryan looked surprised. Then what do? We improve. We create something they cannot copy. A few weeks later, I hired Lily as our operations manager. She entered my office with confidence. You are Ethan? Yes. I heard your company is growing quickly. We are trying. She smiled. Trying is not a strategy. I laughed. You are honest. That is why you hired me. She was right. Lily pushed me harder than anyone before. You need better systems. You need stronger leadership. You cannot do everything yourself. Sometimes her words frustrated me, but I needed them. One evening, Ryan showed me the latest results. Our numbers increased by 40%. I looked at the report. Are you serious? Yes. I smiled. For the first time, I saw proof that my dream was becoming real. But success also brought attention. People who ignored me before started calling. Ethan, we heard about your company. Can we discuss a partnership? I remembered when those same people refused to answer my messages. I did not feel happy. I felt calm. I had changed. One afternoon, I received an unexpected call. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the name. Elena. I stared at the phone. Sarah noticed. Are you going to answer? I do not know. You do not have to. I finally answered. Hello. There was silence. Ethan. Yes. I heard about your company. I leaned back. Congratulations were not necessary. That is not why I called. Then why? She hesitated. I wanted to know how you are. I almost laughed. Now you care? I always cared. No, Elena. You cared when I could give you the future you wanted. Her voice became softer. I made mistakes. Yes, you did. I know. I closed my eyes. A year ago, hearing her apologize would have destroyed me. Now it only reminded me of how far I had come. I hope you find peace, I said. Ethan, I have work to do. I ended the call. Sarah looked at me. How do you feel? I thought for a moment. Strangely, I feel nothing. That is good. Yes. Why? Because before, she controlled my emotions. I looked at my company plans. Now I control myself. Months passed. My company reached a new level. We moved into a larger office. Ryan and Lily helped build a strong team. One day, Victor visited. He looked around. You built this quickly. I worked hard. No. You changed. I smiled. What do you mean? The old Ethan wanted everyone to recognize his value. And now you know your value. His words stayed with me. That evening, I received unexpected news. Marcus's company was losing investors. His reputation was damaged. People were questioning his decisions. Ryan looked at me. Should we take advantage? I shook my head. No, but he tried to destroy you. I know. Then why help him? I am not helping him. I looked outside the window. I am just refusing to become him. For the first time, I understood something important. My revenge was not watching Marcus fall. My revenge was becoming someone he could never hurt again. The weak man who begged for love disappeared. In his place was someone stronger. Someone who built. Someone who survived. Someone who was finally ready for the next battle. The truth behind the betrayal. I thought I understood why Elena betrayed me. I thought she chose Marcus because he offered her a better life. I thought she simply stopped loving me. But I was wrong. The truth was much darker. I discovered it on a normal morning when Ryan entered my office holding a folder. Ethan, you need to see this. I looked up from my computer. What is it? He placed the folder on my desk. I found something while checking old business records. I opened it. Inside were copies of messages, agreements, and documents. My heart started beating faster. Where did you get these? From a former employee at Marcus's company. I looked through the papers. Then I saw my original business plan, my private notes, my ideas, everything I had shared only with Elena and Marcus. I felt anger rising. He did not just copy me. Ryan nodded. He planned this. I kept reading. The messages showed Marcus had been convincing Elena for months before the betrayal. One message made my hands shake. He trusts us. We can use his ideas before he realizes. I closed my eyes. For a moment, I could not speak. All those memories came back. Late nights. Promises. The future I believed in. It was all part of their plan. Ryan looked worried. Ethan. I placed the papers down. I am fine. You do not look fine. I smiled sadly. I am just realizing I was fighting the wrong battle. That evening I met Daniel. He noticed my expression immediately. You found something. I nodded. Marcus planned everything. Daniel listened as I explained. When I finished, he remained quiet. I knew he was selfish, Daniel said. I did not know how far he would go. I want him destroyed. The words came out quickly. Daniel looked at me. Do you? I stopped. Yes. Or, do you want him to feel the pain you felt? I looked away. I do not know. That is the question you must answer. I hated that Daniel always made me think. I wanted simple answers. I wanted Marcus to suffer. But life was not that simple. A few days later, Elena contacted me again. I need to talk to you. I am busy. Please, Ethan. I almost refused. But something inside me wanted answers. We met at a quiet restaurant. Elena looked different. Not happier. Not confident. Just tired. You look successful, she said. I worked for it. She nodded. I know. Silence filled the table. Finally, she spoke. I made a mistake. I looked at her. A mistake. Yes. You did not accidentally leave me. You did not accidentally choose Marcus. Her eyes became emotional. I was scared. Scared of what? Being stuck. I laughed quietly. So you destroyed someone who loved you because you were afraid? I thought Marcus could give me more. And did he? She looked down. No. For a moment, I felt the old pain. The woman I loved was sitting in front of me. But she was no longer the woman I remembered. Why are you telling me this? Because I lost someone who truly cared about me. I remained silent. I want another chance. Those words would have broken me before. but now they only created confusion. Elena, I spent months trying to understand why I was not enough. You were enough. Then why did you leave? She had no answer. I looked at her. I cannot go back. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. I hope you find happiness. And what about us? I took a deep breath. There is no us anymore. Leaving that restaurant was painful. Not because I wanted her back, because I was finally accepting that the person I loved existed only in my memories. Later that night, Sarah visited my office. You talked to her. I nodded. How did it go? She apologized, and I forgave her. Sarah looked surprised. You did? Yes. Why? I looked at my company logo on the wall. Because forgiveness means I stop carrying the pain. Sarah smiled. But you will not forget. No. I shook my head. Forgiving someone does not mean trusting them again. Sarah nodded. That is a lesson many people never learn. Meanwhile, Marcus started losing control. Investors questioned him. Partners left. The same people who once praised him began walking away. One evening, Victor called me. You heard about Marcus? Yes. Are you satisfied? I thought about it. No. Victor sounded surprised. Why? Because his failure does not change my success. There was silence. Then Victor laughed. You finally understand. Understand what? That power is not destroying your enemies. I waited. It is becoming someone your enemies cannot reach. I looked outside my office window. 2 years ago, I was sitting alone with nothing. Now I stood in a place I built myself. I had every reason to hate Marcus and Elena. But hatred was no longer controlling me. I had something more valuable. Peace. I closed the folder containing the proof of their betrayal. I no longer needed revenge. Their choices were already destroying them, and my future was finally becoming bigger than my past. The fall of those who betrayed me. I used to dream about the day Marcus would lose everything. I imagined him standing where I once stood, feeling the same pain he caused me. But when that day finally came, I did not feel the happiness I expected. I felt nothing. My assistant Ryan walked into my office carrying a report. Ethan, the news about Marcus is everywhere. I looked up. What happened? 3 major investors left his company. I remained quiet. His partners are blaming him for hiding information. I closed the report. Thank you for telling me. Ryan looked confused. That is all. What else should I do? He tried to destroy you. I nodded. I remember. Then why are you so calm? I looked at the city outside my window. Because I spent too long thinking his downfall would heal me. And it will not. No. Ryan sat down. Why? Because my wounds were never about him. Ryan waited. They were about who I became after he betrayed me. That was the truth I finally accepted. Marcus did not control my future anymore. A few days later, I received another unexpected visitor. Elena. This time, I almost asked security to remove her. But something stopped me. Ethan, she said softly. I looked at her. What do you need? She looked around my office. You really built all this? Yes. I cannot believe it. Why? She lowered her eyes. Because when I left, I thought you would fall apart. Her words hurt, but I did not show it. Maybe I did. She looked at me. But I learned how to stand again. She took a deep breath. I lost everything. I said nothing. Marcus was not the person I thought he was. I know. You knew. I discovered the truth. Her face changed. What truth? I looked at her. The messages. The plans. The way he used both of us. Her eyes widened. He planned it? Yes. She sat down slowly. I did not know. I believe she did not know everything. But that did not erase what happened. You still made your choice. I know. Her voice cracked. I regret it every day. I looked at her. A year ago, I wanted to hear those words. Now they meant something different. I am sorry, Elena. She looked surprised. You are? Yes. Then maybe. I stopped her. Sorry does not mean we go back. Her eyes became emotional. I miss you. I miss who we were. She looked down. But we cannot become that again. She nodded slowly. I understand. When she left, I felt something I never expected. Relief. Not happiness. Not revenge. Relief. That evening, Victor invited me to his office. I have an opportunity for you. I sat across from him. What kind? A global expansion project. I stared at him. That is huge. Yes. Why me? Victor smiled. Because 2 years ago, you wanted to prove people wrong. And now you want to build something meaningful. I thought about it. This opportunity could change everything, but it also came with risks. If I accept, I will have more enemies. Victor nodded. Success always creates attention. I smiled. I already know that. Then, I extended my hand. Let us build. Victor shook my hand. That decision changed my company forever. But not everyone wanted to see me succeed. A week later, someone leaked false information about my company. The headlines spread quickly. Ethan's company accused of dishonest practices. My employees panicked. Lily rushed into my office. What do we do? I remained calm. We tell the truth. People already believe the rumors. Then we show them facts. Ryan looked worried. What if this destroys us? I looked at my team. The old me would panic. And now I solve problems. We worked for days. We released documents. We answered every question. Slowly, the truth came out. The attack failed. And we discovered something shocking. The false information came from one of Marcus's remaining associates. When I heard the news, I closed my eyes. Even after losing everything, they were still trying. Victor looked at me. Are you going to respond? I thought carefully. No. Why? Because I do not need to fight every person who attacks me. Victor smiled. That is leadership. Months passed. My company reached new heights. The same people who ignored me before wanted meetings. The same people who doubted me now called me successful. But the biggest change was inside me. I no longer needed anyone's approval. One night, I visited my old neighborhood. I stood outside the building where Elena and I once planned our future. The place looked smaller than I remembered. I whispered, I thought losing this place meant losing everything. I smiled, but I was wrong. I walked away. The past was behind me. My future was ahead. Marcus lost his empire because he built it on lies. I built mine because I refused to give up. The difference was simple. He needed to take from others to feel powerful. I learned how to create my own power. For the first time, I truly understood. The man who begged for love was gone. The man who built his own future had finally arrived. The empire I built alone. 2 years had passed since the night my entire life collapsed. 2 years since I watched the woman I loved choose my closest friend. 2 years since I walked away with nothing but pain and a promise. Now, I stood inside the headquarters of my company, looking through the glass walls of the tallest building I had ever entered. My name was on the top floor. My dream was no longer just an idea written in a notebook. It was real. Ryan walked into my office with a smile. Ethan, the international numbers are better than expected. I looked at the report. That is incredible. Our expansion is growing faster than we planned. I smiled. Remember when we were working in that tiny office? Ryan laughed. I remember. We barely had enough money for equipment. And now? I looked around. Now we have everything we worked for. Ryan became quiet. Do you ever think about them? I knew exactly who he meant. Elena. Marcus. I looked at the city below. Sometimes. Does it still hurt? I thought about the question. No. Ryan looked surprised. Really? I remember the pain, but I do not live inside it anymore. That was the biggest difference between the old me and the new me. I carried the memory, but I no longer carried the wound. Later that evening, I received a message. It was from Elena. She wanted to meet. For a few minutes, I stared at the screen. A part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part of me knew this chapter needed to end. I agreed. We met at the same restaurant where everything had fallen apart. When I entered, Elena was already sitting there. She looked nervous. Thank you for coming. I sat down. I thought we needed to talk. She nodded. You look different. I am different. She smiled sadly. I know. The waiter placed our drinks on the table, but neither of us touched them. I heard about your company, she said. It is doing well. You built an empire. I looked at her. I built a life. She looked down. I used to think success was about money. And now I know it is about who stays with you when you have nothing. Her words were honest. But honesty came too late. I am sorry, Ethan. I listened. I know saying that does not fix anything. No, it does not. She nodded. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I looked at the woman sitting across from me. Years ago, I would have done anything to hear those words. Now, I only felt sadness. Not anger. Not love. Just sadness. Do you hate me? I shook my head. No. She looked surprised. Why? Because hate would mean you still control a part of me. Her eyes filled with tears. I really lost you. I answered quietly. You lost the person I was. She looked away. I miss him. So do I. The silence between us was heavy. But that person is gone. She wiped her tears. Is there any chance? I took a deep breath. Elena, I hope you become happy. But my future is not behind me. She nodded. I understand. For the first time, I saw acceptance on her face. Not excuses. Not explanations. Just regret. After leaving the restaurant, I received another call. Marcus. I almost ignored it, but I answered. Ethan. His voice sounded different. Broken. What do you want? I wanted to talk. About what? About everything. I stayed silent. I lost everything. I looked at the road ahead. I know. Do you hate me? No. Then why did you not destroy me? His question surprised me. Because I did not need to. What does that mean? It means I did not build my life to watch yours fall. Marcus became quiet. You really changed? Yes. I thought revenge would make you happy. It would not. Then what did? I looked at the city lights. Becoming someone I respected. Marcus sighed. I was jealous of you. I know. I thought taking your place would make me better. And did it? There was a long silence. No. I closed my eyes. For years, Marcus was the person I blamed for everything. But now I realize something. He was trapped by his own choices. I hope you learn from this, I said. Do you forgive me? I answered honestly. I forgive you. After everything? Yes. Why? Because forgiveness is for my peace, not your comfort. The call ended. I stood there for a long time. The two people who destroyed my past were finally behind me. But they were not the reason I won. I won because I refused to stay broken. When I returned home, Sarah was waiting. You look peaceful. I smiled. I feel peaceful. She looked at me. That is something I never thought I would see. Neither did I. She laughed. You changed a lot. I had to. No. You chose to. Her words made me smile. Sarah had been there when I had nothing. She never loved my success. She believed in me before success existed. I spent so much time chasing people who left. And now I appreciate the people who stayed. Sarah smiled. The next morning I walked into my company. My employees greeted me. My team trusted me. My future was waiting. I looked at the building I created and remembered the broken man I used to be. I almost felt sorry for him, but I also respected him, because that broken man survived long enough for me to become this person. I built my empire in 2 years, but the greatest thing I built was myself, and nobody could ever take that away. The man I became. 2 years ago, I believed my life ended in a single night. I believed losing Elena meant losing my future. I believed Marcus taking my dreams meant I had nothing left. But standing inside my company headquarters, looking at everything I created, I finally understood something. Sometimes losing everything is the moment you discover who you truly are. I walked through the empty office early in the morning. The lights were still off. The city outside was quiet. For a moment, I remembered the small room where I started. The broken chair. The old laptop. The nights when I questioned whether I would survive. I smiled. How did I make it this far? My phone rang. It was Daniel. I answered. Good morning. Are you at work already? Yes. You still arrive before everyone else. I laughed. Some habits never change. Daniel became quiet. You sound different. I feel different. Do you remember the night you called me after Elena left? I closed my eyes. I remember. You said you had nothing. I was wrong. Yes, you were. I smiled. I had myself. That was something you did not understand back then. I looked around my office. Daniel, I spent so much time wanting revenge. And now I realize revenge would have kept me connected to the people who hurt me. Daniel laughed softly. You finally learned. I sat at my desk. Do you think I did the right thing by forgiving them? Forgiving does not mean what they did was acceptable. I know. It means you refuse to let their actions control your heart. His words stayed with me. After ending the call, I opened an old box from my apartment. Inside were memories from my old life. Pictures. Letters. The engagement ring. I held the ring for a moment. Years ago, this object represented my future. Now it represented my past. I placed it back inside the box. I am grateful for what I learned, I whispered, but I am ready to move forward. Later that day, Sarah visited my office. She looked around and smiled. I still remember when your entire office was one small room. I laughed. I remember too. You were convinced you would succeed. I was scared. You never admitted that. I did not want anyone to see it. Sarah smiled. You always thought being strong meant never showing weakness. I looked at her. And now I know strength means continuing even when you are afraid. I nodded. Sarah had seen every version of me. The confident man, the broken man, the angry man, the person I was becoming. I owe you a lot. She shook her head. No, Ethan. Yes. You did the work yourself. I smiled. But you reminded me I could. She looked away for a moment. I am proud of you. Those words meant more than she knew. Not because I needed approval, but because they came from someone who believed in me before I had anything. A few months later, I visited my old neighborhood. I walked past the apartment where Elena and I planned our future. The building looked smaller than I remembered. I stood there quietly. I thought about the man who left that place. He was hurt, angry, lost, but he kept going. I whispered, "Thank you." I was not thanking the pain. I was thanking the person I became because of it. My company continued growing. My team continued improving. New challenges appeared every day. But I was no longer afraid of challenges. Challenges were the reason I became stronger. One evening, Victor called me. "Ethan, the board wants you to speak at the business conference next month." I laughed. "Are you serious?" "Yes. 2 years ago, nobody wanted to listen to me. And now everyone does." I thought about that. Funny how quickly people change. Victor replied, "People did not change. Your position changed." I smiled. "No, I changed first." There was silence. Then Victor said, "That is why you succeeded." The conference arrived. I stood on stage in front of hundreds of people. Years ago, I would have been nervous. Now, I felt calm. I looked at the audience. "I want to share something," I said. "Success does not begin when people believe in you." The room became quiet. Success begins when you believe in yourself, even when nobody else does. I remembered the betrayal, the loneliness, the struggle, but I also remembered the growth. After the speech, many people congratulated me, but the only thing I felt was peace. That night, I returned home and looked at the city. I had money, I had success, I had respect, but those things were not my greatest achievement. My greatest achievement was becoming someone who no longer needed them to prove his worth. I thought about Elena. I hoped she found happiness. I thought about Marcus. I hoped he learned from his mistakes. I thought about my old self, the man who believed his life was over. I wanted to tell him one thing. You will survive. You will hurt. You will lose people. But you will find yourself. I closed the window and smiled. My fiancée betrayed me. My best friend tried to take my future. My world collapsed. But I rebuilt everything. Not because I wanted them to regret losing me. Not because I wanted revenge. I rebuilt because I finally understood my own value. The empire I created was not made from anger. It was made from determination. The man I became was not someone who defeated his enemies. He was someone who defeated his own fears. And that was the victory nobody could ever take away from me. Epilogue. The future I chose. A few years after everything changed, I learned that life did not become perfect. Success did not remove every problem. Money did not erase every memory. But I no longer expected life to be painless. I had learned that pain was not something to fear. It was something that shaped me. One morning, I arrived at my office and found Sarah standing near the window. "You are early," I said. She smiled. "So are you." I laughed. "Some things never change." She looked around the office. "Do you ever think about where you started?" "All the time. The small room, the broken laptop, the nights you thought you would fail." I nodded. "Especially those nights." Sarah looked at me. "Why?" "Because those moments showed me who I really was." She smiled. "You used to hate talking about the past." "I know." "What changed?" I looked outside. I stopped seeing my past as something that destroyed me. I paused. I started seeing it as something that created me. Sarah nodded. "That is a big difference." It was. For years, I blamed Elena and Marcus for everything. I blamed them for my pain. I blamed them for my failures. But eventually I understood something. They were responsible for their choices. I was responsible for mine. They chose betrayal. I chose growth. They chose shortcuts. I chose the difficult road. And that was why our lives ended up so different. Later that week, I received a letter. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Elena. I opened it carefully. Inside were only a few pages. She wrote about her regrets. She wrote about the choices she wished she could change. She wrote that she hoped I was happy. I read the final sentence several times. "I hope you know you deserve better than what I gave you." I folded the letter and placed it away. I did not feel anger. I did not feel sadness. I simply accepted it. Some people enter your life to stay. Some people enter your life to teach you. Elena was part of my story, but she was no longer part of my future. A month later, I met Marcus one final time. He looked older. Not because of his age, because of everything he had lost. "I heard your company reached another milestone," he said. "Yes. I should have been there." I looked at him. "Maybe." He lowered his head. "I was jealous of you." "I know. I had everything, but I still wanted what you had." "What did I have?" He looked at me. "People who believed in you." I stayed quiet. Marcus sighed. "I thought winning meant taking your place. And now I know winning means becoming someone you respect." I nodded. For the first time, I saw regret instead of pride. "I hope you rebuild your life," I said. He looked surprised. "After everything?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I know what it feels like to have nothing." We shook hands. Not as friends, not as brothers, but as two people who finally understood the consequences of their choices. When I walked away, I felt free. Not because Marcus apologized. Not because Elena regretted leaving. I felt free because I no longer needed anything from them. My story was never about making them suffer. It was about proving that I could survive. I returned to my office that evening. The city lights filled the windows. I looked at the place I built, the company, the team, the future. Everything started with a broken heart, but it ended with a stronger one. I picked up my old notebook, the same notebook where I wrote my first promise after losing everything. I turned to that page. "I will rebuild." I smiled. I had kept that promise, but I added one more sentence. "I will live." Because that was the truth. I did not just rebuild my empire. I rebuilt myself. The man who once begged someone to stay was gone. The man who once thought betrayal destroyed him was gone. The man standing here knew his worth. I had lost love. I had lost trust. I had lost everything I thought I needed. But in losing everything, I found the one thing nobody could ever steal. Myself. And that was the greatest victory of all. The promise I made to myself. Years later, I still remembered the night everything changed. Not because I was trapped in the past, because I never wanted to forget how far I had come. I stood inside my office, watching my team prepare for another major project. "Ethan, the new launch schedule is ready," Lily said. I turned around. "Already?" She smiled. "You still underestimate how much your team can do." I laughed. "Maybe I do." Ryan walked in with a tablet. "The investors approved the expansion plan." I looked at both of them. "Thank you." Ryan shook his head. "You always say that." "Because I mean it." He smiled. "You know, when I first joined you, everyone thought we were crazy. I thought we were crazy too." Lily laughed. "But you kept going." I looked around the office. That was the one thing I never lost. The ability to keep going. After everyone left, I stayed alone for a while. The quiet reminded me of my first office. Back then, silence felt like loneliness. Now, silence felt like peace. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat at my desk. My old notebook was still there. The pages were damaged. The writing was faded. But the words remained. Start again. I touched the page. Those words saved me, not because they magically changed my life, because they reminded me that I still had a choice. I could stay broken, or I could fight. I chose to fight. A few days later, I received an invitation to speak at a university. The same university where I had studied years ago. I almost refused. Then I remembered the younger version of myself, the person who had dreams but lacked confidence. I accepted. When I stood on that stage, I looked at hundreds of young people watching me. A student raised his hand. Mr. Ethan, what was the hardest moment of your journey? I thought carefully. The hardest moment was not losing my company. I paused. It was losing my belief in myself. The room became quiet. Another student asked, "How did you recover?" I smiled. I stopped waiting for someone else to fix my life. I looked at the audience. I accepted that nobody was coming to save me. A few students nodded. And that sounds painful. I continued. Because it is. But sometimes the moment you realize you are responsible for your own future is the moment you become powerful. After the speech, several students approached me. One young man stayed behind. Can I ask you something? Of course. My best friend betrayed me recently. I understood that pain immediately. What happened? He took credit for my work. I nodded. And now? I want revenge. I looked at him. A younger version of myself stood in front of me. I understand that feeling. What did you do? I wanted revenge too. He looked surprised. But I realized revenge would keep me connected to the person who hurt me. He stayed silent. The best revenge is not destroying someone. I smiled. It is becoming someone they can never hurt again. The young man looked thoughtful. Did you forgive the people who hurt you? Yes. Why? Because I wanted peace. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Forgiveness is not saying what they did was okay. It means you choose yourself. That evening, I walked through the university halls. The place looked almost the same, but I was different. I remembered the dreams I had before betrayal. I remembered the pain after losing everything. And I remembered the promise I made. I would rebuild. I did. But I discovered something more important. I did not rebuild my life to prove anyone wrong. I rebuilt it because I finally believed I deserved a better one. When I returned home, Sarah was waiting. You look happy. I am. She smiled. You finally stopped fighting ghosts. I laughed. That obvious? Yes. I sat beside her. For a long time, I thought my past was something I needed to defeat. And now I know it is something I needed to accept. Sarah nodded. That is why you changed. I looked at her. Thank you. She smiled. For what? For believing in me when I did not believe in myself. She shook her head. You did the hard part. Maybe she was right. I was the one who stood up. I was the one who worked through the pain. I was the one who decided my story was not over. That night, before sleeping, I looked at the city outside my window. Years ago, I looked at the same kind of view and felt like my world had ended. Now, I looked at it and felt grateful. My fiancé betrayed me. My closest friend abandoned me. My dreams were taken from me, but those moments did not destroy me. They introduced me to the person I was meant to become. I lost the life I wanted. Then I built the life I needed. And this time, nobody could take it away.